Those who cannot be humble to higher and divine when they are in a bad situation always blame it on the situation, circumstance. They say it is so much easier to be humble in a better situation. How can they do the right thing in adverse circumstances? They say it is so much easier to be humble in a better situation. Oh. The fact is that those who cannot do it in adverse circumstances, which automatically humble the ego, will find it much harder to do it in a better situation. So I find this divine insight so profound, and very applicable to growing up in California. I was always around so many people who thought that they could do anything that they wanted as long as it was for the cause. You know, if they rape someone, it's no big deal because they believe in the right cause. And after too many decades of being around that, you start to realize that they don't actually care about the cause at all. They're just looking for any excuse to act like a subhuman hell beast. In other words, just be themselves. Like, the excuses are just so flimsy. Like, to do something like that, or, for instance, say someone deserves to be raped because either they're too fat or they're not committed to the cause. Right, like that behavior was it was always going on, in this situation, and, long before I ever questioned my commitment to the cause. Like, that was the exact behavioral protocol. People might fool themselves, but they're not going to fool the eye or anyone with half a brain, for that matter. So it's very nice that this P-Log is here to show that Libra values can be applied in all circumstances. And like the idea that like lashing out or misbehaving is a good way to deal with a bad circumstance is a bit crazy. I mean, it's actually bonkers when you think about it, because people feel all kinds of things all the time. Like, for instance, nothing the music industry has produced in the past 20 years counts as music, and to come of age at that time, and it's a very traumatizing thing. Like, you're looking for your people, you're listening for them, and you're hearing fuck all. I mean, it's traumatic. I mean, so because I feel traumatized, and I have a legitimate right to, because that stuff is such crap, like, does that give me the right to go bomb like record industries or music producers or artists or their family, or not artists, but the people who are marketed as that? I mean, so because I feel something and there's a legit basis for it, what behavior is expected in that, and like what behavior is expected when there's not really a legitimate basis for blaming someone, which I feel is much more accurate most of the time. Or, I mean, if people feel like, their college professors are just making up lies about people's oppression and banging on about it to the exclusion of anything else, including what to do about it, besides just, self-flagellate, and they are sure that the media is lying to them at every turn, which it is. Like, they have that's a bit traumatic, but in my view, my very strong view, they have no right to do anything. One mob of reprobates, like I would do anything to stop the mob of reprobates. It doesn't mean that they don't have a legitimate point. Well, not anything, but I would do my best to stop any mob of reprobates. So, like, when the situation is not good, like, that is a cue that you need to behave better. So, for instance, usually when I run errands, I'm always going to guitar shops and whatnot. Like, usually when I do that, things go pretty well. Like, I happen to get to the train station right as my train is coming up, and I just find everything so easily. But today, every single possible thing went wrong. Like, everything, and I couldn't find my way, and it was, like, so tough. And I just realized, like, the force was just, like, not with me, like, the way it was with me before. And then I realized, like, okay, yeah, I've messed up a little bit more. That must be why. And it was, like, the worst kind of, thing, like, so, it's horrifying to realize, like, oh my God, my circumstances are my fault, and if I behave well in this circumstance, then it will improve. But, like, that's really, like, what you have to do. Like, if you're taking responsibility for your own actions, then no one else can affect you. And if you're not, then, like, it's easy to think that it's about the other person. Like, if somebody is acting shitty to you, or a group of people are, it's easy to think that it's about them. But for me, like, it was just anytime I got rid of one bad circumstance, something even worse would replace it. That was, like, my life until I started actually taking responsibility and doing PBS. Because you might think that your problem is with the other person, but really your problem is having a bad relationship with divine, So, like, if you have a problem with anything, like, it's just best to improve that relationship. Divine made all the rules, like, the more someone complains, the more lives of poverty they're going to have. I could always feel that to be the case. But, that's just the way it is, and, since that's the rule, you might as well just go along with the rule instead of, nobody wants to be singing, I broke the law and the law won, because it will win. There's no way around it. It's like, I'm very good at, like, I love money, like I do, but if someone has more of it than me, then I just don't know what it means, how it would feel to be bothered by that. you know, I just don't know that feeling. So, and I kind of suspect that that is like a subhuman type of feeling. Like I don't feel like I can't imagine like I would be judged nicely for being that way. So there are a lot of behaviors that I struggle with and that I feel like I would be judged negatively for, and that I try very hard to improve. But there are a couple things that I just don't struggle with very much. So I don't see how that's a bad thing. I think that people should be more ashamed of themselves. And if they were, and if they took more responsibility, then they might not go to hell for billions of years. And when they come back into something far worse than this.